let's get this out of the way. Freelancing is the fastest way to start making money online, and in this video I'm going to share with you how I started freelancing and how I become a successful freelancer in Nigeria. Hi there, my name is Sadiq Umar. I have been a full-time freelancer for the past 2 years, and in this video I'm going to share with you how I discovered freelancing, how I started freelancing, and how I become a full-time freelancer in Nigeria. So I discovered freelancing back in 2019. Back then I had a full-time job. I was working as an administrative assistant full-time from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and I was making around 45 to 50,000 naira per month. And 2019, 50,000 naira, it was tough. So I started thinking of how to make some extra income outside of my job. That is when I started searching for how to make money online. When I started searching for how to make money online, I came across several ideas that you will find when you search for how to make money online, that include affiliate marketing, blogging, dropshipping, etc. Now, none of it really works until I discovered freelancing. When I discovered freelancing, I already had some basic level of skills in graphic design. Now, I had no experience with using Photoshop or Illustrator. All I know how to use was Canva. I knew a little about how to use Canva to make graphics, and so I decided to become a freelance graphic designer. And the first thing I did was I put in some time, like 2 to 3 days, in learning more about Canva. I didn't even have the pro version, I had the free version, so I signed up for their free trial. They have 7 days free trial, so I signed up for that, and I put in 2 to 3 days in learning how the graphic design works in Canva. And after about 2 to 3 days, I set up my profile in one of the most popular freelancing networks. There is still 3 major freelancing platforms, that is Upwork, Fiverr, and freelancer.com. And I just choose freelancer.com randomly. There is no special reason. I just decided to start with one platform, so that in order for me to have focus. So I started with freelancer.com. And when I started, it took me around 2 to 3 months before I landed my first client. And that is because when I started, I discovered that I need to learn how to navigate the platform. I need to learn more about Canva, and I need to also learn how to write a good proposal. And so I put in the time, I was learning, and I was being practical about my learning. That is to say, whenever I learn, I implement today. If I watch a video on how to do something in Canva, I implemented it that day. I go in Canva and try to create the same design that I learned how to create. And if I learn how to write a good proposal, I write the proposal and I send it to client. So that is what took me about 3 months before I landed my first client. Within the first 3 months, I had more knowledge about using Canva. I had more knowledge about using the platform itself, and I had more knowledge on writing proposal. And what I did was I started with smaller clients, because I was starting with, as a Nigerian, as an African in general, I had no reviews. That is, I had no credibility. I had nothing to show that will prove that I know what I'm doing. So it will be hard for me to get some of the big clients that will pay big amount of money. So I started with smaller projects, clients that are willing to pay little, but they are looking for someone with little to no experience. And I landed my first client within the first 3 months, after 2 to 3 months, and I delivered the project to them. And I did that within the first 3 months. I completed about 5 to 6 projects, and all of this project gave me 5-star reviews, because it was a very small project and I did my best to deliver the absolute perfect delivery. So I get 5-star reviews from 5 clients. Is 5 or 6? I'm not very sure right now. It is 5 or 6 clients. And the way the platforms work is, the more 5-star reviews you get, the more clients you get, and the more important clients you get. And after I did around 7 projects in total on freelancer.com, I decided to switch to fiverr.com, because I noticed freelancer.com was taking too much of my time. Writing proposals, finding clients is taking way too much time. And remember, at that time I had a full-time job, so I had very little time to invest in being a freelancer. So I only work certain hours every day. So and freelancer.com was taking too much of my time. So I decided to switch to fiverr.com. I set up my profile on fiverr.com, and I started looking for clients. And the way Fiverr works is you set off your gigs and people can check those out, and you can also send a proposal to people who post a project. So I started on that. And when I started on Fiverr, I already had some knowledge on navigating the freelancing platforms. I also have some decent knowledge of writing proposal, and I have more experience in graphic design. And in addition to the graphic design, I learned a little about WordPress. So instead of just offering graphic design, which is a little more saturated, I was offering WordPress related services. When I started on Fiverr, within the first month, I learned about 3 clients, and I work with those 3 clients and I get paid. That is like the first really good withdrawal that I ever had. I withdrew 40,000 naira from Fiverr within the first month, and that motivated me to keep going because my full-time job pays me around 50,000 and I earn 40,000 within the first month, and the whole project took around 1 week to complete. So that motivated me to keep going, and I continue working on fiverr.com, and I gain about 10 5-star reviews. Then I encounter one major challenge. Fiverr asks me to verify my profile, and in order to verify a profile, you will have to submit a government approved ID card. So I submitted my international ID card, they rejected it. I submitted a driver's license, they rejected it. What they want is an international passport, and I didn't have that. So I decided to take some time, go to passport office and register for a new passport. But before I could do that, Fiverr shut down my profile. They shut down my profile because I couldn't verify my profile, and I had to start from scratch. Generally, getting project with 10-star reviews is a lot easier. It's like 100 times easier than getting project with 0 reviews. So when Fiverr shut down my profile, I was heartbroken, and I did have to start from scratch. But luckily, when I restarted, I already had more knowledge about the platform and how to get client. So it was easier for me to get client when I restarted than when I was starting before. And within the first 2 months, I had client, and I completed project that generate more income in every single week than what my full-time job pays me in 1 month. So that is how I started my freelancing journey, and that led me to becoming a full-time freelancer. Now let's talk about some of the challenges that I face as a Nigerian, as an African in general. So as an African in general, it is harder for some people in other countries to trust you with a sensitive project. This is one of the major challenges that I faced, especially when you are starting with no credibility, with no reviews. And the way I counter this is I started with smaller projects, smaller clients that are looking for someone with little to no experience. I remember my very first project on freelancer.com was somebody had an e-commerce website, and they just want to test the process from a user's perspective. So it doesn't require any experience. He just gave me the link to his store, and I visit the website, I check all the pages, and from the user's perspective, I test the usability of the website, and I write a report, and I generated a report based on my experience. That was my very first time project. So if you are starting from scratch as an African, it is going to be a challenge for some bigger clients from other countries to give you a project that has more sensitive information. The second challenge that I faced was verification with Fiverr. Verification, usually when you submitted a national ID card, any verification works with national ID card. But because I didn't have the plastic ID card, I had the sleeve. It didn't work. My driver's license didn't work, and I had to go get a new passport, and the process was not very easy in Nigeria. And so that is another challenge that I faced. The second challenge that I faced was I had a strong African accent, a strong Nigerian accent. And when I started offering some projects that require a virtual meeting with client, I had a hard time sometimes understanding the client, and they have a hard time understanding me because of the accent. The accent was becoming a barrier. And over time, when I get used to speaking to people, and when I practice my accent, I learn how to speak clearly, and the accent was no longer a barrier. The next challenge that I faced was I had a full-time job. I work from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So I had very little time to work my freelancing jobs. I had to work when I closed from my job, so it took me hours. It took me hours into the night before I completed all the project I have, before I got to bed, and I had to wake up early in the morning. I had to be in the office by 8 a.m. And so that was the next challenge that I faced. And that is something I just had to work with. So that is how I had to manage for a couple of months before I was generating enough income to quit my full-time job. Now let's talk about some of the tips that I have for you if you intend to start working as a freelancer. The first tip that I have for you is you have to get started. You cannot be 100% ready. If you intend to do this thing, you just have to get started. Don't get stuck in a learning phase, and don't get stuck in a planning phase. You have to just start. Learn what you can in a short amount of time and start implementing your learning. Do whatever you want to do practically. When you do that, anything else comes second. Getting started is the first step. You have to just get started. The way I counter this, whenever I am procrastinating, what I ask myself is, why am I not starting right now? If I want to start something and I am putting it until tomorrow, what I ask myself in the moment is, why am I not starting right now? And most of the times, there is no valid reason. You can just start something right now. So if you intend to do this thing, start something right now. And don't get stuck in a planning phase. Don't get stuck in a learning phase. Just get started and learn the process while you are doing it. And the next tip that I have for you is be willing to learn everything. Everything you want to learn, you can learn online for free. I learn all the skills that I have. 90% of the skills that I have, I learn on YouTube and Google. So whatever you want to sell as a freelancer, you can find tutorials on find tutorials that will help you master that skill on YouTube and Google. So don't rely on finding someone to sit and teach you how to do anything. You can learn whatever you want to learn on YouTube. So if you choose a skill you want to sell, go to YouTube, go to Google, find tutorials, learn what you can, and start implementing. And the third tip I have for you, which is very important, is be willing to do whatever it takes. Be willing to be patient, be willing to learn all the skills required, and be willing to persist, to just stay. Whether you get your first client in the first month or in the next 6 months, be willing to stick to it and do whatever it is, whatever that is needed to succeed. And if you follow these 3 tips, I am sure you will be on the right path to becoming a successful freelancer. I made this video as a general overview of how I get started, the challenges I face, and how you can get started. If you enjoyed the video, or if freelancing is something you are interested in, be sure to subscribe to this channel, because I will be providing content on every aspect of becoming a successful freelancer. I will be sharing my knowledge, my experience, and everything I encounter on my journey to becoming a successful freelancer. And this channel is dedicated to helping you start freelancing journey and become a successful freelancer. Like the video, subscribe to my channel, and see you in the next one.